We were talking about Darian Mensah. Darian Mensah is a guy that I think was the most underrated quarterback last year. He won the ACC championship. I know a lot of people don't like me saying that. They were a 7-5 team last year, but they have a great conference in the ACC. Now he joins, I guess, an ACC rival, you would say, in Miami, who I believe going into this year is the best team in the ACC by far. I do talk about how there are some dark horses in the ACC. Like I do really like Louisville as a team. But Darian Mensah was a guy that I thought could have entered this NFL draft class. He didn't. But Darian Mensah, like I said, the most underrated quarterback in the entirety of college football last year. I really like what he can do as a passer. I think he's super accurate. I think he gets the ball out fairly quickly, probably quicker than anybody on this list outside of Julian Sayin. I do think he throws with a lot of anticipation. I do think his skill set is just perfect for this Miami offense. Like I said, this Miami offense is all about timing and quick throws. I think Darian Mensah is a quarterback that does that better than anybody else in this transfer portal cycle. And I do think he's going to be an upgrade over Carson Beck, which sounds absolutely insane. We know the story career Carson Beck has, but I do think when you talk about a consistent passer from game to game, Carson Beck wasn't exactly that last year, although he did lead them to the national championship. They had a chance of winning it. But Darian Mensah, I do think, again, has a way higher floor than Carson Beck has from game to game. We're looking at a guy that threw for 66.8%. He threw for 34 touchdowns to only 6 interceptions, so turnovers aren't a problem for him. He's consistent as a passer. I do think the hardest thing with Miami this year is going to be this offensive line. I just don't really have much faith in this offensive line at all compared to last year. I think this offensive line, again, they lost a top 5 pick in the NFL draft. As a tackle, Francis Mauigoa, that was a tremendous loss. And again, I think they're really relying on a lot of stuff in-house that doesn't have a lot of quality experience. And then you also add Jamal Merriweather as an ad from Georgia. A lot of people are super hyped over that ad. I don't really see it. Jamal Merriweather couldn't get on the field for Georgia, couldn't get in significant time. This offensive line is going to be the biggest issue. But for Darian Mensah, I really believe Darian Mensah transferred to one of the best situations you could have possibly transferred to. When he was pulling it all the way to the end at Duke, I was saying, like, what is going on with Darian Mensah? Why would he possibly stay at Duke? Like, this is a guy that's pushing his chips to the NFL this year. Why would he stay in that situation? Like, don't get me wrong, the situation wasn't bad, but why wouldn't he go to a top-tier contender? And then for Miami, it was the same type of deal as well towards the end of this transfer portal. Like, I get it, they were going for a national championship, so it's pretty hard to balance, like, recruiting and going for a national championship, but, like, they didn't have a quarterback for next year. Obviously, the money starts talking. Darian Mensah pulls out. He goes to Miami. Again, for Darian Mensah, I think it's very similar to Brendan Sorge. We got to see Darian Mensah really do it on a much bigger stage. We saw him have a great game in the ACC championship. Pretty big stage. But when I'm talking about stage, I'm talking about like teams with national championship expectations. Now he joined that team. I think that's really it for Darian Mensah. Can he do it for a team that's, again, much more talented? I think just as much as he's going to uplift everybody on this team is also going to uplift him as well. Like I said, he has a lot of talent around him. I really like Mark Fletcher and Shamar Brown. Mark Fletcher, I do think, is going to be one of the best running backs in college football. He was one of the best running backs in college football last year. He returns. Shamar Brown, I thought, was a sneaky good secondary running back as well. I think he's a very good change of pace back. I also think this receiving core is going to be absolutely phenomenal. When we look at Malachi Tony, he has the opportunity to be the best receiver in college football next year. He is really that good. He's a guy that you can get it to him in space, and that's where I think those quick time and anticipation throws are going to be needed for Darian Mensah. But again, he's also a guy that could stretch the field as well. And then when you look at Cooper Barcade, I thought this was a phenomenal transfer portal ad. Cooper Barcade joined Darian Mensah around the same exact time. It almost seemed like they were a package deal. I think for Malachi Tony, a guy that's super explosive, to have a guy like Cooper Barcade last year that's a 1,000-plus receiver in the ACC, I think that's absolutely huge. I think he brings like a floor as a secondary receiver, a guy with experience. And then I also like Vandarius Jacobs as well. He's a guy that had 500 yards in the SEC, so I like him in his offense. I think his offense is super experienced. I think the defense is going to be really good, very similar to last year. I know a lot of people are a little hesitant. Obviously, they lost Ruben Bain. Obviously, they lost Mezendorf. But they get a blue-chip edge out of the transfer portal, an edge that could possibly be the best edge in the country in Damian Wilson going into this year. And then they also bring back a lot of guys. So I think this defense is going to be really, really good. My biggest issue with Darian Mensah is, again, he has to do it for a team that's expected to win, expected to be fighting for a national championship. And then, again, the offensive line. He's going to have to get this ball out pretty quick. Unless his offensive line gels early, I don't know about this offensive line. It isn't as good in the trenches as last year, but I do really love the piece he has around him. When we look at Malachi Tony, like I said, top 3 receiver in college football minimum. Mark Fletcher, going to be one of the best running backs in college football. Cooper Barcade, I think. If you have Cooper Barcade as your second receiver, you are set. It's just going to be a lot of time and anticipation. But I do think Darian Mensah, super underrated. Like I said, a guy with 34-6 touchdown interception ratio, a guy that completed nearly 67% of his passes. Like, he tore it up last year. He's going to be even better on one of the biggest stages. And I do think he has the rushing upside to extend plays and take what defense gives him. Again, I would like to see him translate that a little more. But Darian Mensah is going to be really, really good for Miami. And I do think he has the ceiling. Again, I wasn't talking about ceilings as much. I do think he has the ceiling to be a first-round draft pick in the NFL draft. Like, I feel like people are just really sleeping on Darian Mensah. I don't get it. I think he's top tier